Good evening. Today is the 31st day of October 2016, and we are here for the explorations in Savitri. I notice more and more people each week subscribing to these explorations, and I don't know of a more beautiful or important way to live our life than to immerse ourselves in Savitri. As always, our brother Alok is with us. We finished the first two lines on page 158 of Canto 5, The Godheads of the Little Life.
Your remark about I don't know what better way than to immerse more and more in Savitri just reminded me just now of a lady we have in Desiree. But please don't go and visit her and ask her all these things. But she's 90 plus, fit as 20-year-old in every way. And the only thing that we see her doing day and night, she will read other things also, but primarily Savitri. She has it on a bed, and every morning and evening she would be writing from Savitri. So many times she has finished, she would write again and again. No glasses, what a wonderful handwriting. She can put, I can tell you, a expert calligraphist at shame. And she is writing it with running hand. I'm sure Dr. Mandeep and few others will vouchsafe for it. And such beautiful, as if it's printed letters, running hand. That's the only thing she does. And the other day she made an observation. She said, at least for this life, I want to just read Sri Aurobindo. And I say, it's a good agenda, but don't you see the effects? That at 91, 92, you are so fit, like, just unimaginable. And she doesn't actually associate her fitness to Savitri. I mean, she just is fit. And she does this. But I feel, and it's worth exploring that the only thing that is consistent in her life, she will sit morning, afternoon, evening, with a small light she can read, she would be writing Savitri, lines after lines. It's called Lipi Yoga.
I know that Dolly in Mumbai
Okay.
can recite hundreds and hundreds of lines at a time, and everyone perfect.
Yeah. It's a whole sadhana in its own right.
Yes, yes.
So, we read up till the miracle, which we don't even regard as a miracle. The miracle, and in a body lit the miracle of the heart's love and the soul's witness case. Such a miracle has been performed by the divine. We want miracles like I need some money and I get money. But this is the greatest miracle, that in a matter-bound house, something of the divine felicity, in a mortal cloak, an immortal seed of things to be, that is housed. That's a miracle. And this miracle is not going to stop. So, impelled by an unseen will, there could break out fragments of some vast impulse to become, and vivid glimpses of a secret self, and the doubtful seeds and force of shapes to be awoke from the inconscient soon of things. So this was the original game plan, that one day the glimpse of the secret self, because of the pressure of this unseen will, out of the soon inconscient has woken up doubtful seeds and force of shapes to be. awoke from the inconscient soon of things. And what happens next?
Yeah, this beautiful
Yeah,
passage.
beautiful passage. Actually, that's the whole thing, that we can look at the same thing from a purely material angle. We can look at it from a biological point of view. We can look at it from a consciousness perspective. We can look at it from an occult perspective. The problem is they don't cancel each other. They complement and fulfill each other. And this is what we find in Aurobindo. Otherwise, there is an exclusive approach. So very often when people talk about exclusivity, they think only in terms of the paths to the one divine. But there is another kind of exclusivity which excludes some aspect of creation. But Sri Aurobindo, we can see that in everything he brings in the whole. That's the beauty. An animal creation crept and ran and flew and called between the earth and sky, hunted by death but hoping still to live, and glad to breathe if only for a while. Then man was molded from the original brute. Now we see why these things are required. See, human beings begin to think the purpose of life. And if they begin to think seriously, sometimes they are lost and people can take to extreme steps that why live at all. But the instinct to live is so seriously inbuilt that in spite of all the maladies in the world, human beings want to live. Now, in the first animal experiment, nature was just grounding the will to live, the will to survive against all odds, the joy of life.
If only for a while.
If only for a while. Human beings will think like that. What is the use?
Yes.
But in animals, because the thought is not there, nature has put in, because this is necessary when the mind comes. Otherwise, if it was just a mental creation, it would turn away. This is the whole story of the first four forms which were created by Brahma, Sanat Kumars. And they were asked to create. They just turned away and went back. They said, no, we don't want to create. It's too much of a hassle, too much of a problem. So, first there is a grounding through the animal consciousness. It grounds the life force solidly onto the earth. Then the mind develops. And this actually is easy to understand. If you see, let's say, from the first time the Wright brothers took the flight, it was just a few 100 meters and a little bit height. But that was the precursor of the space age. Now you could not have started straight away sending rockets into space. So nature first lays the ground, the foundation, and then it brings the other things. So this is how it proceeds. And we cannot bypass it. What we can do is accelerate it. We can avoid the complexities, but we cannot bypass. Like mental evolution, we cannot bypass. We have to go past it. A thinking mind had come to lift life's moods. The keen-edged tool of a nature, mixed and vague, an intelligence half witness, half machine. How beautifully Sri Aurobindo described. This capacity comes with the awakening of the mind. Ability to separate, look at oneself, and then probably apply something like a self-corrective. As far as we know, of course we know very little, or rather science knows very little. This ability to witness oneself is not there in the animal world. But with the mind it comes. So there is of course the mechanical part of intelligence which runs through the nerves and all the channels. So half machine. So automatically we react. But there is the other part of the intelligence which can look at things and decide and change course and take an alternate course. And the typical example is, as one psychologist has said, that every night when we go to sleep, there are three fellows sleeping on the same pillow. The dinosaur, the monkey, and the human being. So the dinosaur, when we have a fight with the neighbors, the dinosaur comes out. Most of the time it's the monkey running from here and there. This is mechanical intelligence. But time to time, the human being peeps. And this is the unique thing about human intelligence, that it can separate itself from itself and look at itself.
And Savitri, much later on, stood a little
Yes,
outside of
yes,
herself.
yes. This is a great capacity. In yoga, it is the first step. Sri Aurobindo reminds us in synthesis, the first step to learn to practice to be a witness, to separate oneself from oneself, one's activities, one's thoughts, impulses, feelings. And this comes with mind. It's a great boon. We don't realize it. Of course, it's a pain also because we begin to question ourselves. Otherwise, we would be like tigers and apes. This seeming driver of her wheel of works, mission to motive and record her drift and fix its law on her inconstant powers. This master spring of a delicate enginery aspired to enlighten its user and refine, lifting to a vision of the indwelling power, the absorbed mechanic's crude initiative. So, nowadays we have these cars which the auto driving cars. I mean, they have been there for a while. You can't drive them on Indian roads. I don't know how successful they will be. I don't think even on Indian highways you can drive them. But you just sit behind the wheel and put everything. It just goes. Radhakrishnan, no, he had once taken me in that car in Houston, and it's interesting. It navigates itself. It has a set speed. It'll slow down if there is something. It'll give you an alarm. So all this is there. Now, something similar happens with the human being, that he thinks he's the driver. Well, he's the driver, but he's not the owner. He's just driving someone, and that he forgets. So this driver records all the things, drifts, this, that, but the owner, the master, knows the way. So he doesn't need to bother. So he simply tells the driver, take me to so and so place. He knows all the routes. So driver may ask him, sir, which route? Take me through the shorter route. That's it. After that, he is sleeping peacefully, or like nowadays on the smartphone, gracefully. But the driver now knows. He records, he drifts, he looks here and there, because this is job. The driver makes a mistake if he thinks he's the owner of the master of the car. So here Sri Aurobindo reminds us. And then lifting to a vision of the indwelling power, aspired to enlighten its user and refine, lifting to a vision of the indwelling power, the absorbed mechanic's crude initiative. He raised his eyes, heaven light mirrored a face. So a time comes when the human mind develops to a point where it turns upward, looks, feels a presence within, a face, a form from far beatitudes.
Yeah, mirrored a face.
Mirrored a face, the human intelligence. So a time comes, mirrored a face, the back seat. Driver is not supposed to, it's not proper to look behind and see who is the master. But the only way you can do it to see in the mirror.
Very good.
That's the analogy. Back seat. Yes. He can't turn, it's not proper. So we have the mind, a time comes when it begins to see. Amazed at the works wrought in her mystic sleep. Now you see something very interesting comes. She looked upon the world that she had made. Nature through mind. Mind is also part of nature. But what nature is doing is that by creating the mind, it creates for itself a possibility of looking at itself. So it develops first physical nature, vital nature, then mental nature. When mental nature comes, nature can look at herself. So this is why she creates. Wondering now seized the great automaton. She paused to understand herself and aim. So, this is where, with the mind, nature has been working, driven by an inner impulse, a will to be. But much later, she begins to wonder, who is impelling me to work? Why am I working? And this she does when she manifests mental nature. The nature begins to look at herself. What am I doing? Why am I doing? Who is impelling me? What is the force behind? What is the motive of all that I am creating? So here there is a description of mental nature. Pondering, she learned to act by conscious rule. A visioned measure guided her rhythmic steps. Thought bordered her instincts with a frame of will and lit with the idea her blinded urge. Up to the animal life, it's instinct and urge. There's no logic. If you ask a snake, why did you bite this man? Somebody stepped, but it doesn't know. It just felt a touch and bit instinctively. But if you ask a man, why did you spew venom at so and so? Oh, you don't know such a person. Horrible. He abused me. So I took out my fangs. This is human beings, because human beings begin to give that logic, the why of things. Animal doesn't have a why of it. It acts under an impulsion. And that's why he is divine. Sri Aurobindo says that. When a tiger kills a deer, he is divine.
Yes.
There is no sin in it. But if he were to question himself and feel guilty, he would be committing a sin. That's where man comes in. The questioning mind. And so the moment thought comes in, it puts a frame of will. You will do this, you will not do this. There is a line, a boundary. Animals don't live like that. Animals live by a spontaneous dharma of their own. And so do the gods. Gods don't live in frames. But man is given to live with frames. But these frames must evolve as man evolves. And these frames were originally called dharma. For each species, for each situation, for each human being, as it evolves, there is a dharma. And a point comes when it goes beyond the frames and dharma and discovers the one eternal law which is expressing in all things. But that's much later. First, it must border the instincts with a frame. Animals don't have a frame. On her mass of impulses, her reflex acts. On the inconscient's pushed or guided drift and mystery of unthinking, accurate steps. Look at the beauty of nature. No thinking involved, but accurate steps. It's amazing. I mean, they don't make a mistake. I remember in Pune once, there was a famous man who used to sleep with snakes or live with snakes. And he had made many records till one day a king cobra bit the man and he lost one limb, upper limb, one arm. So when I had went to see him in his office, so he was not there, but sure enough, the king cobra was there inside a glass cage. So I had read the story of the mother that, how you feel and the cobra strikes and you jump back.
French
Scientist.
Yes.
So the scientist in me also woke up. I said, let me try to experiment. So I told my mind, look, this snake cannot cross the glass. I conditioned myself. So it cannot bite you under no circumstance. So you just don't have to worry. Just put your hand to the glass. Now the mistake that I had made was I thought I'll put my hand, then the snake will see, then it will strike and I'll respond. Trust me, 1 inch before I have gone near the glass, it had struck already. And if the glass was not there, it was gone. It didn't wait for me to.
Right.
It was all hooded. I was taking near, thinking I'll put it, then the snake will bite. And there will be no bite because it's a glass and I'll feel, But snake was so swift. I didn't realize how swiftly it struck. Accurate.
Yeah.
Perfection of detail.
This scientist said that he was not going to react.
Yes.
No movement at all
Yes.
when it struck. And every single time he had to move. And Mother said
The
it was
subtle
the vital force
yes,
behind
it and the subtle physical.
Yeah, yeah.
So, since I had read it, I thought, let me give myself a message. Let me improvise. It doesn't work because the subtle physical just reacts.
Yeah.
You see, that's why the vital force, this thing, you'll notice in many things. There's some people who are bullies. They'll throw a lot of vital force. Today I was seeing, two men fighting, and one was threatening the other, and the other was almost equally well built, but he was gradually, trying to move away from this man. So I was just watching, witnessing the whole scene, and then I saw, which several times I have seen, this man who was threatening. Basically, he was pushing a lot of vital force through his speech, through his gestures, and through his body movement. And this man, the other man, though equally well built, maybe if he turned around and said, okay, come, let's have it. But the vital force was so much that he was, just feeling caught down. People push vital force through fingers.
Yes.
Do it, the touch, by pushing, the ways of doing it. So, of course, Mother has taken out vital beings from people by a slap.
Yeah.
You know the famous story of some lady who had, fever and huge glandular swelling. She told me herself, Taradi's aunt, who used to be here. Now she's no more. Masiji we used to call her. So, now the story is a backdrop. The backdrop is that once I wanted to meet somebody who has seen Sri Aurobindo, very early days. And that day I met her. And I was so deeply moved. Here is somebody who has seen Sri Aurobindo. I would fall at the person's feet. This was enough for me to know. So it just happened. She said, Beta, will you leave me to my room? I said, sure. I mean, it is an honor, a privilege. But as she started moving, I thought I'll start asking her about how it was with Sri Aurobindo. For the next 10 minutes, she was talking about her gas connection, the problems that she is facing, and all these things. So by that 10 minutes, I was disgusted. I was thinking, Lord has washed me of all this urge. But this was one side of the truth. Much later, the same lady, I had developed this feeling, Mother has brought them out of her infinite love, but she, this kind of... And all this happened initially when I came here, and it was an eye-opener for me. The first incidence was much before I came here. But the second was much before I joined the ashram. But the second was, I have started working but not yet joined the ashram. See the difference. That's why tell people, don't judge people from outside. Interact closely, then you will know. So she told me something very interesting, and I observed that she had such a beautiful opening to the mother. She said once she had fever and glandular swelling, and mother had called her and she wanted to go to the mother, and everybody told her, don't go. You have such a high fever. She said in a typical Punjabi style, Mother has called me. What is there? She went with all this fever and swelling to mother, holding her hand like this. Mother says, why are you holding your hand?
Cheek.
Mother, cheek.
Yeah.
Putting your hand on the cheek. Mother, this swelling. Mother saw her, give her a slap. Slap. Can you imagine? Normally with a sick person, oh, my sweet one, so bad. She gave her a slap. She tells me, I don't know what happened. Everything vanished. My fever went away immediately. By the time I came out, the swelling had vanished. She was so full of gratitude. That means she has to be very open and receptive. And mother could see it, that, she is very open and receptive in the physical, that she will respond instantly. She won't do the same to everyone. Pritidi also gives that in a book, Unforgettable Moments. When she said, I am not well, a fever, mother just ignored it, made some remark which made her almost cry. Why mother did done this? And she discovered that she was driving away the entire force. So, well, the instincts, we were at instincts, and then the frame of will. that the mind, puts. Then again, when you go to the divine state, you are free of all these frames. Your actions are guided by something very different. Of course, it's dangerous to believe prematurely that one has gone beyond the frames. So that's the key. She stuck the spacious image of a self, a living idol of disfigured spirit. With man comes the sense of me, myself, I. As far as the animals are concerned, it's the soul of a species which acts. But slowly, as animals grow, evolve further, in some of them, particularly those who begin to live near human beings, they begin to develop some kind of an individuality. Like dogs who are, nurtured by
Yes.
human beings.
Cats, mother's
Cats,
example.
yes. Otherwise, by and large, they are driven by the instinct of the species. On matter's acts, she imposed a patterned law. She made a thinking body from chemic cells and molded a being out of a driven force. This is how mind acts. So when mind acted upon matter, you see, when mind is not there, just living matter in animal world, early animal experiment, plant world and the animal world, it's all instinct and reaction. But when the mental world begins to act, in the higher animals we see, you have specialized functions. With as the animals grow higher and higher, birds, then others. In reptiles, you have the rudiment of a brain coming up with cobra, otherwise others don't have. It's just a nervous system which reacts. And then you have sometimes some basic bone structure and something to digest. That's it. But the specialization, not of the senses but of the organs, and with human beings we see an extreme degree of specialization. And this is because the mind acts upon matter and puts everything into fixed compartments. If you see unicellular organism, they can just produce another being out of itself. But human beings cannot do it. So we have differentiation between sexual reproduction. That's the only way we can reproduce. Other cells cannot. Now we have discovered through cloning that actually specialization is only a surface phenomena. Deep inside, every cell is capable of everything. But practically, as of now, because of the mentalization, we have imposed schemes, patterns, laws upon matter. Not we, the mind. Our whole machinery is mind driven. That's why one of the things before we attempt the supramental is to master, to bring, Aurobindo speaks of that in later essays in 1949. He says that lot of functions of the body still take place automatically. It's one of the steps towards mastery, towards supramental transformation is, first we must mentalize the whole thing and should be able to master by the mind. The mind should be able to dictate. I want to eat, I don't want to eat. I want to do this, and it can go to any extent, reducing the heartbeats. Mother has spoken of that. If your heart is going chaotic, become quiet, tell your heart to not to beat like this. Tell the heart to be quiet. Then she says, tumor cells. She says if they are growing rapidly, tell them there is nothing to worry, nothing to fear. You don't have to multiply like this. Purely the mind can achieve all this. So this degree of thing mind can, go on. To be what she was not inflamed her hope. Suddenly with the possibility of mind coming in, nature feels, there is a greater possibility.
I can be more.
I can be more. She turned her dream towards some high unknown. A breath was felt below of one supreme. Suddenly, because of the coming of the mind, the possibility, the breath of the supreme, instead of just being driven by spontaneous instincts, an opening looked up to spheres above, and colored shadows lined on mortal ground the passing figures of immortal things, reflected in the mind. But something the mind began to feel, sense, see, imagine. And so a new possibility opens up. A quick celestial flash could sometimes come. This brain can receive it. The illumined soul ray fell on heart and flesh. Actually, we can feel it. Sometimes feelings of love in the human heart towards the divine, bhakti. How does it happen? The sense as if mother has touched you. All this is possible because the sense of thrill by the name of the divine. There are people who start crying when they think about the divine, their glory and their grace. Now, if you see, it should not be analyzed scientifically, but if you look at it, tears are a purely physiological phenomena. But there are people who cry. Suddenly they not cry in the sense that tears come out because of their thrill of contact with the divine. That means the divine force is so concrete. It can act on your very physiology.
Absolutely.
You can feel a thrill in your whole body. The hairs can stand on end. What is called as one of the signs of bhakti in Narada Sutra, Roma Harshana. All this can happen because of the action of the divine force.
I had this experience myself.
Yes, what was?
We were in the dining room with Ved Prakash. And he suddenly turns to me and he says, "Our Dumanbai loved you very much." And for some reason, I cried and the tears poured for 2 or 3 minutes.
Yes.
Just amazing.
Absolutely. So these are very objective. Yeah, yes, that's right. Because the body remembers, as you said, even now.
Yes.
Exactly, because the imprint has gone very deep into the body. They are the sole moments of one life. So these are very objective signs of the divine force acting in the human body. And touched with semblances of ideal light, the stuff of which our earthly dreams are made. What a marvelous line. Whatever are the earthly dreams? Having a child, educating the child in some good, earlier it was convent school, now it's a public school, sending the child to dream destination, America, he will earn lot of money, buy a Mercedes car. This is the stuff of which earthly dreams are made. But what happens? Some people, they go crazy. They start dreaming of union with the divine. They start dreaming of ideal love, flawless happiness, perfection in terrestrial things. The crazy ones. Thank God, because of these crazy ones, the world is saved.
Welcome. Welcome.
Welcome to the club. When I joined the ashram, one very elderly ashram, actually Rangada. So when I met him, he laughed and said, "Welcome to the club." I understood which club, not elite club by any chance.
But when you first came, probably had the same experience that I did. Everyone was a yogi.
Yes, absolutely. No,
A great yogi.
Yes. Now I believe it, but I see it in a different way. So earlier it was the naive idea of yoga. Now it is the grounded idea of yoga. What yoga really is. So it's wonderful. The stuff of which. So you see, this touching of the awakening of intelligence in nature, by which she could witness and look at herself, and look above, and look around, and try to understand, and seek and know, is a momentous turning point from which nature wants to shoot to the beyond, begins to feel the contact and touches. If fragile human love that could not last, ego's moth wings to lift the seraph soul. We dream of an ideal love. It doesn't last because the wings are ego wings. Ego's moth wings. See, when there is an egoistic kind of love, when people dream, this is the love. But the moment, that's why, old time there was a joke. most Indian movies, they ended with marriage. Two beings loved each other, but the moment they got married, they wouldn't show beyond it because it'll turn into a tragedy. So before that, they were great things. I love you like anything, you love me like anything, we will forever live. They are lovely songs, sentimental romanticism. But the moment they came close, they discovered it was ego's moth wings. They cannot lift the seraph soul to there. The dream is true, but the matter is not ready. To realize this dream, we have to upgrade the entire system, go past the ego and desired self. So, ego's moth wings to lift the seraph soul appeared a surface glamour of brief date, extinguished by scanty breath of time. So, yes, there is possibility of ideal love, but because it is based on the ego, extinguished by a breath of time. What a marvelous expression. These are amazing lines.
Yes.
Joy that forgot mortality for a while came, a rare visitor who left betimes and made all things seem beautiful for an hour. Hopes that soon fade to drab realities, and passions that crumble to ashes while they blaze, kindled the common earth with their brief flame. Now you see the beauty of these passages. It mixes two very different emotions. If you read it from one side, it will appear like, oh, that means these things are useless. Sri Aurobindo is not saying that.
No.
If you see from the other side, you feel that, oh, these are the things which will uplift us. What Sri Aurobindo is showing us, mixing up two very different emotions. There is, yes, that joy that you forget mortality. You believe it will last forever. There is that passion which makes you feel that, we are in the heaven. At the same time, with this joy, with this passion, with this upheaving of love, there is also the emotion that, but only for a brief hour.
Yeah.
Look at this line, the joy that forgot mortality and then left betimes.
But it kindles the common
It
earth
kindles
with
that.
a brief flame.
That is the catch.
That's it.
Therefore it is allowed. Therefore it is granted.
Yes.
Therefore life is not an illusion. 100 times you may fail in establishing an ideal, but each time you fail, the flame has grown a little stronger. So this is the beauty. A creature insignificant and small, visited, uplifted by an unknown power. Man labored on his little patch of earth for means to last, to enjoy, to suffer and die. And at one place, Mother explains this is the paradox of man. This is the riddle of man. She says, from one side, he is like any other animal, probably worse, because the mind has taught him deceit and falsehood and other things. But from other side, man alone of all creatures has the capacity to unite with the Supreme. Even the gods crave for taking a human body, because man can achieve what even the gods do not. And then she says, but man had to be again and again made to fall to the dust so that he can learn to be humble. So he has to learn to fail 100,000 times. Then once he is humble and he seeks that infinite, calls upon that, then his life is lifted up towards its true purpose. A spirit that perished not with the body and breath was there like a shadow of the unmanifest, and stood behind the little personal form, but claimed not yet this earthly embodiment. Early beginnings of humanity. See, before humanity, there is no individual soul. Animals have soul of a species. That's why animals are not individualized. They all follow the same dharma. Try hard, you cannot turn an elephant into a non-vegetarian. And equally, you cannot turn tiger into a vegetarian, because it's spirit of a species. Human beings can change their wide variety, individuality, because we have an individual soul. This possibility also wakes up with man of individualization and uniting individually with the divine. But for a long time, in many human beings, it remains in the background, hardly ever touches and unites. It just sends an influence time to time. And in some people, as Sri Aurobindo says, we have to take it as an act of faith that there is a soul.
Yes.
That is a different matter. I mean, it is there, but so rudimentary a spark. Assenting to nature's long, slow moving toil, watching the works of his own ignorance, unknown, unfelt, the mighty witness lives, and nothing shows the glory that is here. So, this soul understands that nature moves through a long passage. See, one sign of the psychic emergence, at least of the close contact, that you learn to trust in the divine, the impatience, the restlessness that goes away. You see how nature is moving, and you know that evolution is going to be, and you aspire and you put all your effort, but you are not impatient about it. You consent, it doesn't bother once the psychic has emerged that I must, if I die, what will happen? You know that you have come several times and you will come. Evolution is going to be. There is a very nice couplet by Maulana Rum, the famous mystic. He says, "Why should I be afraid of dying? I died a stone and became a leaf. I died a leaf and became a bird. I died a bird and became a monkey. I died a monkey, became a man. Why should I be afraid of dying?" This is the typical soul vision,
Yes.
which he describes that it knows, it assents to nature's long process. But they have to go together. A wisdom governing the mystic world is silence, listening to the cry of life. So he gives us a little glimpse of that soul, witness soul, watching the works of time, watching nature's all serpentine ways. It's a wisdom which accepts many things across many lives because it knows the steps. Is silence, listening to the cry of life. It sees the hurrying crowd of moments stream towards the still greatness of a distant hour. It has that trust. So this is the evolutionary journey, right from dust to man and beyond. So stop here. So we'll see again and again Sri Aurobindo will approach the same thing but from still again another angle. Another angle. That makes it so complete.
To help us
To help us.
to grasp it.
Yes. Also because to have the complete truth. Truth is like that. When I read this, I wonder what kind of vision Sri Aurobindo and the mother would be having when they looked at things. How they would be looking simultaneously all these things together. Mother says there is no language which can express the supramental vision because it simultaneously sees all things, but the mind has to express step by step. Now here he is expressing as step by step. In the supramental state you are simultaneously seeing. So once someone asked Dr. Manilal, "Sir, how does, when you have realized the Brahman, how do you see?" Sri Aurobindo says, "See whom?" Says, "Someone like me." He says, "I see Brahman becoming Manilal." I'm coming. And then you have that poem, whether she is a spirit, a woman, or a cat.
Yeah.
This is the mystery I am wondering at. Simultaneous vision where you see the past, the present, and the future.
And then we go to 1972, 1973 agenda. And Mother. opens it all.
Yes.
My goodness.
Yeah, absolutely.
The whole, there's no more mind. Mother has no more mind. She's so far above that, and she's watching the body and the
Yes, yes,
cells.
yes, yes. Each cell,
Yes.
she takes it out, offers it, divinizes it, puts it back into its place. Each cell. Billions and trillions of cells. We can't even imagine. It's just unconceivable. But then, what is even more unconceivable and what gives us hope is that with all that consciousness, they chose to become human, move like us, play with us, talk to us in our language, reply to all our nonsensical queries patiently. This is love.
The Holocaust of the Supreme.
This is love.